I'm going to talk a little bit, sorry, my hair's a little messy, about the factors that drove me insane. And one of them was the leading one, with probably being in special ed. For one, I was placed into a school that did not value me. Like, they were like, this is the reason why our test scores are so low is because of her. And, I scored average on the test scores, but over time, like, I just became demoralized and, like, completely shut down as a person. Like, I remember being in high school and middle school and just dragging my feet, and like I just went out of here. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because I really didn't have problems past elementary school. Like, my main thing that I couldn't do was I couldn't read. And so since I couldn't read, I couldn't do math problems. And then they kept like adding more and more and more disabilities to my list. And once you get one, it's like a black hole. It's like they don't actually realize what your problem is. But my problem is that I can't sound out words because I was taught to read later than most people. I had a lot of life things happen to me early on that prevented me from being able to read. My grandma eventually taught me how to, and I kind of taught myself too. I mean, I taught myself how to be fluent in it later on, but I didn't need to be in special ed past elementary school, but they kept putting me there because they said that I had like problems because I wouldn't like take care of myself and stuff. And most of that was just because like I wanted to die so badly. Like, I remember being in special ed and just being like, please just somebody take a freaking revolver to me and end it, because like it's just it was so humiliating every day. And my teachers would always, even in high school, now I could read by high school easily, but my teachers would always in the very beginning of class be like, Kayla has a hard time reading, so if you could help her out. Now I realized that some of my teachers were trying to actually be productive and like alert people to my problem, but what it did was it made everybody hate me, because they were like, well, she's never going to get anywhere in life. And that's pretty obvious. I mean, I live in a group home at 24, and I've been incapacitated by psychotronic warfare. I mean, I can prove my abilities prior to this. That I mean, I've had a lot of testing done and stuff, but one of the main things that when I had a spiritual awakening when I was living in Virginia after they were torturing me, and they tortured me for months before they finally did the lobotomy. Like, they made sure they got a reaction out of me, because I'm kind of like, I was so depressed and shut down as a person that I wouldn't even like pay attention to anything. So if you told me that if there was monkeys on the moon, I would be like, there's monkeys on the moon. Like, I was just completely shut down. And the reason for this is just because, like, over time in school, like, they would blame me for everything. I had one orchestra teacher that made me sit in the back of the room and wouldn't let me. I couldn't afford to get a violin. And, my sad story, here's my little violin playing right now. But, she would just, it was just, people would just humiliate me over and over and over again. And over time, like, it made me build up these feelings in me that were very instinctive. Like, I became very angry. And I remember one time in high school, I lashed out. I mean, she was an acquaintance more than a friend. And I lashed out at her because I was freezing. And I was like, why won't you just, why can't you just say hi to me? Like, why can't anybody just say hi? Like, why do they all treat me like crap? And they all treat me like crap because I'm inferior to them. And right now, like, I can't feel rage, but I'm becoming enraged. Like, my thought process is. And over time, it drove me up the wall being in special ed. They used to put us in a place without windows and with just one door, and they would our special ed teachers don't know what they're doing, half of them. Like, they're supposed to teach every subject to us, and they couldn't, so I got an inadequate education, and I still scored average on the state test. And that always threw them for a loop. They were like, why aren't you doing well in class? And it's because I was like, because I'm not getting the same education as everybody else. But I didn't know that back then, because I was so demoralized that I couldn't really even process anything. I just remember shutting down over and over and over again. Like, one time in middle school, I ran into a wall because I was just so out of it. But I've been demoralized for most of my life. And it just, I eventually became enraged. Like, just pure rage constantly. Every second of my life, I was filled with anger. And I think that it would have been fair for me to lash out. I don't think Madonna should have stopped that, because if I were to do something, then maybe we could get special ed kids out of those regular classes. I know that the district is just being cheap and putting us in there because they're like, oh, we can save money if we can put them in the same schools, but they don't really understand the social issues that happen when we're in the same schools. Like, the only people that were my friends were people who had siblings in special ed, so they, quote, understood, or they were people whose parents were special ed teachers and whose parents kind of like semi-forced them to be my friend, or, yeah, they're outcast for various reasons. It just, it really, my self-esteem was like zero when I got out of school, and that's okay. Like, I think I spoke 3 words while I was in high school, but it was a terrible experience. I know a lot of other people have had horrible experiences too, but I really think that because it put me in an environment where I was being tortured from the time I got up until the time I went to bed. I'm not going to elaborate a lot on that, but I'm going to say that things happen for reasons, and that whine, snivel, cry, complain, but it's just, it's very frustrating.